take it on public?
I did. All right. Hey, everyone. We are back for God Given Live on Monday. We're just testing to make sure that we're going public.
Absolutely.
So if you can hear us, if you can see us, type in the chat, hey, let us know where you're coming in from. But we're really excited to jump back on this today.
Also, let us know about any kind of little fickle things like, I don't know, video, audio. We always want to make sure we're delivering a good quality product to you guys at all given times. That's it.
And sometimes we don't hear that it's like not up to par until halfway through.
Yeah,
but we always try to do a check. But anyways, nonetheless, really excited to be jumping in on a part 2 of Should I Date an Entrepreneur? And we're getting into a really, really heavy last week. And we're like, okay, let's definitely split this into 2 parts.
Absolutely.
And so if you're an entrepreneur yourself, type in hashtag entrepreneur in the chat. We want to see who our entrepreneurs are out there. But
entrepreneurs.
Oh my gosh, he just gets on one.
Signs
but we're really excited to be able to jump into this because it's important. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, at least in our circle, because that's what we are, and you know we love it. But dating an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things that come into play. And so what we want to cover today is last time. Can you pull up your notes really quick to talk about? Just give a little recap, a little like this is what we went over the last time. I'm gonna let you dive into this, babe, like what we went over last time so we can tee him up here.
I want to preface it like this. I think I was reading an article that said about 70% of relationships involving entrepreneurs fail. That's a huge statistic.
That's huge.
Reason being is because by nature we are pretty much selfish. And not in a bad context, but Molly actually just got done reading a huge article that says, what did it say? Remember that the title was literally called...
It says, the advice you need to hear when dating an entrepreneur. And the first thing that comes up to prove your point...
It says, remember their first relationship is with their business. Now, mind you, a business is almost equivalent to that of a baby. So if you're going to date an entrepreneur, just know that they basically have an invisible kid. Or like not
a physical kid. Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility there.
Basically taking care of a kid or like, you know, an elderly parent, if you will. So basically what that means is that all that attention is going to be facilitated and if anything thwarted towards that growing thing. It has to be fed. It has to be constantly checked up on. Like if you bring all these like dramas into it, by nature, most entrepreneurs, depending on who you're dealing with and depending on the personality type, they're most likely going to have an anti-BS kind of like attitude towards relationship. If you make my life hard, you know, honestly, I don't have time for this. Boom, you're done. Mm-hmm. Or if it's kind of like I don't want to say it like this, but unfortunately I kind of have to give it context, is like the simp. That's like, shoot, I'm going to try and juggle this, and then I'm going to also try and juggle her. I'm going to try and do clients, and then I'm also going to try and attend to her needs as well, which, I mean, could only go so far and last so long. So in between that, there has to be a healthier option, which is understanding balance and boundaries. I didn't even actually think about that. That's actually really good.
That is good.
Balance and boundaries.
Let's recap what we went over last time, and then we can dive into the new times.
Huh?
Let's recap what we went over last time, and then we can dive into the new stuff today.
Shoot.
He kind of went.
No. I think it's good because really at the end of the day, you know, I'll always go back to my 4 C's. Molly knows because you know we only crip in this house. Is that there's what was it? Commitment, clarity, conviction, and I forgot. How do I forget my own points? There was another C. I'm gonna get back to it. But regardless, there are about 4 C's that we hold to because they're kind of like the staples to each and every relationship. To my opinion, at least, that's what's been successful to mine and hers, and you know a lot of other people that we know, especially entrepreneurs. Because there has to be commitment, there has to be conviction, there has to be clarity, there has to be communication. Communication, I think that was it. But you know, like there are these fundamental things that create a solid foundation, and so when we tie all these things in, also I have another thing in here called compassion. Compassion is understanding the state of things and resonating with them to the point where you can join in a heart to heart with somebody and say, look, I understand where you're going. I understand what you're going through. How can I help? Like compassion is at the core of it is sympathizing with somebody in their circumstance and understanding how could I help? And that's the fundamental basis of any entrepreneurial relationship, because there are times where we have things going on And we can't always be the superhero to each other's relationships. And so,
So true.
when she knows that I'm under fire with a crap ton of projects, she's not going to come barging in saying, hey, how come you didn't take me out on that date last night? And I'm over here like, you know, it's just like there has to be a fundamental like understanding of, oh, wow, I understand that, you know, he's doing a lot of things that are critical, not only to his business, but also our livelihood, because I have to make essentially money. And that's always going to be at the forefront of our lives, because eventually that's going to take care of us, not only now, but then also in the future, which is critical. Babe, do you have anything to say?
Of course I do. You're just on a roll. I don't know if you drink an energy drink. I have no idea, but
I'm lit.
Yeah, something.
No, I'm just kidding.
Speaking of the compassion part, I feel like this is very important because it's so easy, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, to get lost in the sauce and not intentionally
Don't get lost in the
dating
sauce.
your spouse or dating your significant other, whoever you're with. Now, back to Johnny's point, he can always be, if you guys are familiar with video work at all, very technical edits, computer malfunctions. There's a lot of things that go on where he could be on that computer for like hours, you know, and like an hour would be minutes to him because he's just super focused.
That's a fact.
So me knowing that, it's like, okay, try to stay out of the room when he's focused. Of course, you know, I'm a little needy at times. I need boot time and get a few smooches, so I sneak it in there. But then, like, to his point, it's like we actually had this conversation this weekend. The compassion part really ties into this. It's like he could have worked on projects all weekend, but we're like, you know what? Okay, we're in a lockdown. There's only so many places we can go. We live and work in our home. We're constantly here. What else can we do? Well, the beaches are still open. So he's like, on Sunday, he's like, hey, let's go to the beach and have a little date. And so we brought a blanket, brought some books, and just really sat down and just enjoyed what was there. Because let's be honest, that's the only reason I moved to California was the beaches.
Yep.
It's basically what we're paying for, even though we live 30 minutes away. But point is he knew. He's like, okay, I have a lot of projects. I have a big trip that I'm leaving for this week. I need to sit down and finish this, but I also need to prioritize my wife. I need to be able to have that. But I have compassion for when I know that, again, he's under fire and he has a lot of projects and he has to focus on that because there's a grind time for sure. But you can always be in that grind time. And just like we were talking about in this article, and I'm going to go through it in just a bit because there's some really good points in here that you guys should definitely take notes on. In the fact that the first relationship that entrepreneurs have is their business. You know, they take on that baby, they take on that responsibility. It's always growing, always changing, and you're always grinding and hustling. You got to figure out, okay, what moves am I going to make to, you know, benefit me 3 months, 6 months, 10 years from now? What do I need to do right now to make sure things are, you know, comparable and they're working adequately? So I really want to dive into this article real quick, and we'll stick this in the chat after we're done. But this is it's from thegrayjournal.net, and it was very interesting. It's the advice you need to hear on dating an entrepreneur, and here's a couple key points. We've already mentioned this. Remember, their first relationship is with their business. Number 2, 9 to 5 schedule does not exist in their world.
Skirt.
That is so key.
Throw it up.
Relaxing doesn't come naturally to them. That is also very true. It's hard as an entrepreneur, I know, for me to like get my brain to settle down. And so what I've trained myself to do now, finally, so I don't have burnout, is I go super hard, like from 4:30 to whatever during the week. So on my weekends, Sunday is God time, and Saturday is whatever it is that I want. Projects, vegging, outdoors, whatever that would be. Very, very important to be able to have that balance. They're always learning. They're constantly intaking more information to grow. They can take on too much. Babe, I'm gonna let you speak onto this because I know, like me personally, I take on so many different things. How do you, as my husband, handle, I'll come to Johnny and be like, in a matter of like a 10-minute conversation, be like, here are the 20 things that I'm working on. How do you handle that as a man? Because that can be a lot, you know, to be able to, how do you absorb that and handle that when I'm like, hey, I got this, and this, and you're, how do you keep it all straight?
Then I come back to, I got this, this. So the way that I see it is that I have absolutely no concerns with how much Malls chooses to take on, because honestly, I want to take it from a patriotic standpoint. She's a natural born, human being with unalienable rights. She has the ability to pursue life, liberty, and happiness and freedom within her own right to choose to do whatever. We do not have like this kind of like dominion kind of like thing within our household. I can't tell her what she can't do. Like, I mean, Molly is like by far one of the most A-type women I've ever met. So that's that. She's going to do what she wants to do. So that's that. On another note, spiritually, I know that there's a lot of things that Molly chooses to do on a spiritual note, which brings her not only a sense of purpose, but then also drives and fuels her spirit to go conquer and do far more than I think most women would and most humans would like to engage with, because let's be honest, she's very ambitious. So there's things that are not going to stop her at all. It is only within my best interest to kind of navigate certain things and talk out like, hey babe, like I know you're taking on a lot, is there anything that I could do to support? And then sometimes I'll help ration out things for her sake and be like, are you sure you should be doing these things? I never say, Malls, you need to stop what you're doing. You're crazy, you're high, you need to stop. It's more of out of a compassion. I'm saying, babe, like you're constantly like bombarded over the computer. Like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Like, should you be doing as many things? And then she starts spilling the beans, and then we kind of start getting to the meat of like why she's doing what she's doing. But regardless, I have absolutely no objection to the things that she takes on, because at the end of the day, I know she's purposeful. I have absolutely full confidence in that whatever it is that she chooses to do out of her better judgment, which I too made a judgment on, my judgment says that I trust in her judgment. And at the forefront of every relationship, there's always going to be a judgment. I hate it when people say, oh no, you shouldn't judge in your relationships. That's total crap. That is absolute horse crap. That's not true. At the forefront of anything good, there's always going to be a fundamental judgment call on whether or not it is stable, it is good, it is healthy, it is, whatever. And so part of my judgment in dating and then marrying Malls is understanding that she herself makes good judgments. And so whatever it is that she chooses to venture in, I'm in full support of. I'm just here to not only help, but also help kind of navigate. And that kind of goes back into like the communication and compassion aspect of the relationship.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that because there's a book I just got done reading called Captivating. And in there, it talks so many different times. And women, ladies, if you have not read that book, it is so awakening to just your feminine nature. And I've needed that for so many years. And so when I dove into it, read it, it's on the bookshelf in the corner. He's going to try to go find it. It had such a common theme that women, we think we're too much. Men think we're too much. We're complicated, but really we're a mosaic of all of our choices. And we have, if you think about it in your brain, we got like a 5 to 10 lane highway. And guys, no offense, they might have like a 1, 2, or 3. But we can be a little bit more complex and have a lot more things going on. And that's great. That's absolutely great. But the whole, oh, I'm too much for somebody. I've had that talk with myself so many times with Johnny, because I'm like, I have so many things going on. And one of the things that I'm praying for 2021 is that the Lord really grows my capacity, because I've seen things that he's put on my plate that I'm like, man, I don't know where I'm going to find the time for this, but I know this is so important right now. And I was made for something like this. But only he can grow your capacity if you ask for it, because if you don't ask, you're not going to get, right? So he's going to give what you ask for, especially if it's all in alignment. And so I asked him that for the men to really connect and be like, how are you handling your lady? Are you giving her space to spill the beans? Are you having that compassion and communication to really be able to open up, whether you're an entrepreneur or not? Because sometimes people, like, I know Johnny has a lot of things going on, but I'm like, you're my best friend, you're my husband, I have to talk to you, Facts. And sometimes I don't care like what kind of day you're having. I'm like, babe, we need to talk. Like, an hour later, you just let me know, but like, I'm not gonna hold anything back. Like this, I just gotta get this off my chest.
Right.
So ladies, don't be afraid to find that person, whether it's a friend, significant other, your husband, and really be like, hey, can we set the space for me to be able to communicate? And especially as entrepreneurs, like we have so many things floating around. Okay, clients here, clients there, up month, down month, growth month, like so many things are going on. We got to be able to talk it out, especially in this climate with everything going on. Here in California specifically, it's like one of the worst areas in the world for this whole like coronavirus thing due to the government, And so it's wild to me, but you have to be able to debrief. And December is my favorite month to debrief the year, to reflect the year and find what's good, find the silver linings, because that is important. That's important to keep your head above water for some and to really get you moving forward for others. And so anyways, I just wanted to be able to bring Johnny in on that, because I know I got a 10-lane highway up here and I got so many things that I need to be able to share it with somebody who understands it. And I'm grateful that I'm married to an entrepreneur because like you get it. And sometimes I'm like, babe, I don't know how you put up with me or how you can handle me. But he does a really great job and he does it in grace. So
Nobody who knows who can help me.
I want to finish this article really quickly before Johnny touches on the rest of his points because again, should I date an entrepreneur? Should I not? If you're an entrepreneur, type in hashtag entrepreneur in the chat. Samantha also mentioned captivating is amazing. Wild at Heart is good for men. I'm actually starting to read Wild at Heart because I really want to understand, okay, what is the male aspect of things? How are they thinking? What are they going through? And so, yeah, those books are super good. But anyways, back to this article about things you should know about dating entrepreneurs.
I want to say this, though, if I could kindly interject.
No.
Is that, dang.
No. Only reason I'm saying no is because let's just finish this and you can go on to your
Wait,
point.
no. This goes perfectly in
does?
line. Yeah.
See, the only reason I say that is because he's diverted.
trying to
We've
shut
diverted
him
so many
down.
times that I'm like, you'll go off on this tangent for 5 minutes. But go ahead, boo. It's okay. Tell your mans no. It's all right. Don't be scared. Don't be shy.
She's salty
All
about
right,
my
boo, go
input.
ahead. I don't know where you're going with this.
All right, no, because what's crazy is that we have a mutual friend, and so he was kind of like he's himself a venture pursuing man. You know, he likes to delve into a lot of different projects, entrepreneurial, I guess, to say the least. And he was dating a cop. Now, right off the jump, I instantly knew that that was not going to kick off the way that I think he hoped. She was super cool, great woman, fit, built. She was just dope.
Great human being, yeah.
Great human being. But the problem is that longevity, they just could not seem to kind of like connect on the same level for whatever reason. And mind you, you're a cop. Like when you're a cop, you don't just kind of detach from work. Not that I'm aware of. My mom was a cop. I had several cop friends and siblings, and like that, you never detach from that world because as the responsibility of, like, let's say a cop, you take on a lot of burdens within your city, and a lot of that sometimes comes home, and you're almost kind of like spiritually attached to those things. So then that inevitably comes back into your relationship. There's nothing wrong with dating cops. Make no mistake. For this particular instance, I knew that because of him and his relationship, and because of who he was and wanted to, and like the heights that he wanted to go and the speed that he wanted to go, it was a little too unpredictable for her. And for somebody as green and kind of like also red on the personality charts and as disciplined as her, somebody being a cop, like there needs to be a sense of predictability because when you're in that job, you never know what's going to happen.
So true.
Much less even come home. So with him, on both of their sides, they walked out of the relationship perfectly well. But you have to understand that when dating somebody, and this could apply to just about anything, but especially because we're talking about entrepreneurs, dating entrepreneurs. When you're dating an entrepreneur, you have to think about dating them almost as if you would be thinking about starting your own business. Is it worth it? And really, at the end of the day, you have to be very comfortable with uncomfortability, risk. You have to really assess risk-reward ratio. You have to be able to withstand certain pressures. Understand that there might be like a lot of communication conflict. So really, at the end of the day, like dating somebody who is a little bit more entrepreneurial invested is almost as if you might start a business yourself, because again, their first priority is always going to be the business, sometimes even after marriage. I know that sounds crazy, wildly unhealthy, but sometimes, that's your livelihood. If that thing fails, what else are you guys going to rely on? I have had several clients who are entrepreneurs who I've seen firsthand their relationship. It is not pretty most of the time. It is beautiful seeing how they get through it, but not when they're in it. And so that's a good little side note. So
that's a great example.
In case you guys are wondering that, dating entrepreneurs is somehow going to amount to, boats, Louis bags and jet planes, chances are that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah,
what is going to happen is that you have, out of personal responsibility and self-awareness, you have the capacity to understand that no matter who you're dating, first it starts off with the self-awareness assessment that says, who am I? What do I want? What kind of person do I want to live life with? What kind of what is the person that I'm going to date even capable of starting a family? Having kids, spending time with other family. Do they enjoy the same things that I do? Do they share the same values that I do? Things like that. and then start, kind of progressing from there. But there's a lot that can go in that.
Yeah, that's a great example. The
Yeah.
only reason I said no is because you just never know where the rabbit hole is going to lead. So anyways, that's great, Boo. That's a really great example.
Thank you, love.
And so you just got to be able to know what you're getting into. And that's why this is so important. That's why we wanted to put this on, because it's like, look, you may not know, but now you get a taste. You know what I mean? You definitely get a taste. So back to this article, and again, we'll put this article in the chat because I thought this was really powerful. Of course, dating an entrepreneur, they're goal-oriented, likely to have mood swings daily.
Yikes.
Can definitely attest to that, especially if you're in sales, for example, you're the CEO of your business, you got up, down, put out fire,
Molly
fire.
secretly has 16 personalities.
I have a couple, that's
And
for
I have
sure.
to
I don't know
date
about
each and every
I don't
one
know
of them.
about 16, but I definitely have a couple, and sometimes they fight with each other like right in front of them, and I'm just like, oh boy. And I can say that perfectly fine, perfectly normal, because if you're gonna sit here and say like, oh wow, she's weird, she has multiple personalities.
Very much so.
And we all have it, okay? Like I definitely have it. Like there's a lot that goes in to being front facing and networking, and I love it. And some days it's way better than others. They will test your traits. So especially it says your nurturing side, patience, flexibility, ability to spend time alone. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. They need solitude, definitely need alone time to debrief and see like what's coming up, what do I need to shift.
Ooh, a good point to speak on that. You mind if I hit that real quick?
Sure.
All right. So there's one that says, there's an article or there's a headline that says, encourage them to spend time with fellow entrepreneurs. I kind of want to take away the keyword encourage because really at the fundamental basis of any relationship, if you're in a relationship with somebody who is an entrepreneur or is pursuing certain ventures, and you yourself don't have a venture that you're doing, maybe you have a job. I don't know, like whatever it is that you have going on. Know that if they're running their own thing, sometimes it's good to know that if you can't run it with them, at least at the very best, be the CEO of their life. And what I mean by that is their chief encouragement officer. And that's critical to know because they're constantly going through battles, ups and downs, mood swings, because life is good for 1 minute and then all of a sudden some of their biggest clients drop and then all of a sudden they're back to broke. Like you have to understand that does something to a person to know that they're never going to have stability. The one thing that they should be able to bank on is the fact that, like myself, I know that Malls is always going to be there to encourage me whenever things go incredibly wrong. And so she is inevitably my chief encouragement officer, and likewise to her.
That's good, Boo. I like that. CEO, Chief Encouragement Officer. Let us know if you like that in the chat. That is good. I like that. That's good stuff. A couple other things. Refrain from asking these questions. And if you cannot rephrase them, avoid asking questions like this. Why are you working so much? Why aren't you taking the weekend off? Do you care about your business more than me? Are you going to choose me or the business? When is the prime time? When is the prime time for a business to fail? Ugh. Do you ever relax? Do you think you're investing too much into your business? How much time are you going to spend on your phone? Oh my gosh, like those are all very like, that's kind of like if you want to boil it, like those are questions of somebody who does not get, okay, this person doesn't get like a solid check, work a 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. It's just on their time as they see fit, constantly growing and seeing how they can shift and make that impact. Like those questions are pretty tough. And so hopefully this segment allows you to skip all that part. Ultimatums will get you nowhere. That is so true. And that's it. So really at the end of the day, we're going to post that into the chat later. Like there's so many different ways to be able to examine like, okay, you're with somebody who's an entrepreneur. You want to date somebody who's an entrepreneur. What are some things that you need to know so you can really set yourself up and understand this isn't going to be normal? It's not going to be normal. There's going to be constant movement and growth. And one of the things that I also notice is, in our circle of friends, of course, we're all entrepreneurs, but sometimes, and I've caught this more in the last couple of years, we'll always talk about business. And I got to the point where I'm just like, yo, let's talk about something else. Like I love talking about business, but what else are you involved in? Have that healthy, clean break every once in a while. You got to be able to get into other circles of people, other things that, hobbies or things that you enjoy so you can be able to disperse your gifts or just things that you enjoy. Because if it's always work, like let's just be honest, people don't want to talk about work and what you do for a living all the time.
Yeah.
But if you find other things to fulfill your, just your spirit and your joy, whether that's serving in the church or whether that's feeding the homeless or playing a sport or hanging out with friends or something, add some different dynamics in there. And it might be hard during this season to add some extra dynamics, but there are ways. You have to get super creative.
Facts.
Super, super creative. I know we've had to get super creative because we do a date night every Friday. And if we don't get it on Friday, then we do it on Saturday. Intentional every week to be like, hey, let's go find something. Let's go do something. And sometimes it's tough. Like we had a game night on Saturday over here with some of our coworkers because we're like, hey, let's just come over. Let's, play some games and, have a good laugh, because what are you going to do but be intentional? Because other people are hungry for that connection. And then, you might just inspire somebody to be like, oh, I need to be able to pursue, gosh, it's like my favorite P word, pursue my significant other. And that's really, really huge. What's that?
I think there's a couple different things. Malcolm appreciates you. He makes a good point. He says, wow, I needed to hear that one because all I focus on is business and I get burnt out.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, from just like overall, like kind of like psychoanalysis, kind of like of my own personal venture, and Malcolm, if you're listening to this, awesome. If not, no worries. This still applies to anybody and everybody, is that sometimes we have this like idea that we're like, the harder we work on something, like the faster we're gonna get there and screw everything else in between. And so like sometimes when I'm in deep work mode, it's a heavy chance sometimes. It happened in the past more than it does now, but there was a lot of times where I would completely negate anything and everything upon my responsibilities when I was busy, because I equated getting something done with getting paid and then getting paid to being free. So then there was like in between this chasm of being like incredibly busy to then getting paid to then getting free. Like I didn't care about anything, right? And so there's sometimes this tunnel vision that entrepreneurs end up like putting on, almost like horse blinders. And so we completely negate everything. So if Malls is kind of going through a problem, I'm like on my phone and she's over here talking about her day. I'm just like, you kind of go on autopilot after a certain point. You're just like, wow, man, that's crazy. My brother is like fantastic at doing this. Sorry, I had to call him out.
Great A.
But if you don't realize, first of all, you have to realize you're doing it, because self-awareness is honestly the first step, and admitting it is, I think, the second, and then adjusting it and moving forward and progressing from a progressive pattern and not a destructive one is going to be the most beneficial. Because then when Molly comes in and I'm like super deep into like whatever I'm doing, whether it's like emails, calls, projects, whatever, she comes barging in the door. Sometimes I literally have to like stop whatever I'm doing, be ready to detach from work, and then give her my attention, because I know that I've been busy all day. She just wants a little bit of that human connection. And entrepreneurs by nature, I think, sometimes operate like robots. We can work all day and every day if we wanted to, because we understand the vision. We know what's up here, so much so that we're so like, we're like so hell-bent on making in here come true. We don't give a damn what happens out here. We just want this to happen. So like we have like this very like unilateral like idea and goal of like, I start here, I end here, like that's it. Screw everything else in between. But one thing that I've realized, and unfortunately I've seen in the lives of other entrepreneurs that out of regret have admitted, is saying, out of that pursuit, literally, I had nothing to gain outside of money, which if money is all you got, then that's sad, right?
Yeah, that's like the lowest form of wealth is money.
Right, because then you, like I heard this quote, it says, if money's the only thing you have, I forgot. Anyways, but basically what it's amounting to is that through the journey of through an entrepreneurial journey, sometimes the end goal isn't actually the end goal. So like we think like either that's financial freedom, which is, being X amount of, money in the bank, whatever, that's not always the end goal, because entrepreneurism is supposed to be the means, not the end. It's supposed to be the means to provide a good life for, our loved ones. For right now, it's Molly and I. Soon we're gonna eventually have a kid, which is then, if I'm
Not
still
like that soon, so don't get super happy. We're probably sometime next year, maybe. We'll see.
But like you understand is that like imagine if I still had the same patterns when I have a kid. You understand that that's majority of extremely wealthy entrepreneurs who have crappy kids. Because all they come, their kids come home and they're like, "Daddy, I want to play," and then they're just like, So it's just like throughout that journey, we have to understand that like entrepreneurism and that pursuit of wealth and happiness and everything else in between, like that's supposed to be the means to drive everything else. And so part of our job as within relationships is to understand and facilitate growth and healthy communication in that. So then that way we don't end up resenting our job. And,
and there's even just kind of sum it up, like entrepreneurship,
that's all I got.
That's like, it's a way for you to be able to make legacy money to help your children's children type of thing. That's what I look at entrepreneurship like. Like when you're in like a corporate, like a 9-to-5 box, like again, if you're in corporate and you're a 9-to-5 and that's what you love, by all means, but there's no legacy there at all. So being an entrepreneur, you have that legacy option, be able to provide a wealth for your children's children and give them opportunity. And even on like the family aspect, when we start having kids, it's like, I already know with how much I have on my plate, again, 2021, my year is capacity. And I really encourage people, ask God to grow your capacity. Lord, what do I need to do to be able to grow my capacity in my love life, relationships all around, my business, personally, spiritually. We always pray for it business-wise, more money, more money, more money. But then we just keep buying more stuff and that stuff doesn't fill any void other than take this new sweater I just bought. I love this new sweater, but it's just a sweater. It's not really gonna bring me that much happiness.
Right.
What's gonna bring me more happiness is being able to save for a grand vacation and take my entire family so we can make memories. That's the kind of memories and legacy that I wanna leave personally. Even with the family. I know I'm gonna be so packed out with everything that I have going on. I hate using the word busy, but fine, busy. I'm gonna need help, like a nanny and a personal assistant, being able to pour into that when we get to that point, because I wanna be there for my family and my children,
right,
and not just be checked out because other people need me. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're so busy wanting to help other people that we forget the people closest to us. We forget our family, we forget our friends, we forget pouring time into them. Like, oh, they'll understand, they've been here. But at the end of the day, they're not gonna be there forever. You got to be able to be intentional, take time with them. Just because Johnny and I live in the same house because we're married doesn't mean that we're going to be intentional with our time, because it's very easy for us to do our own thing, be stuck in our own worlds. You got A, I got B, and we'll come together at dinner and we'll say what's up.
Facts.
Nah, that we don't do that all the time, and I would never want a relationship like that, because communication is my number one love language. Words of affirmation, being able to take time and talk to people. This book is a little beat up, but it's awesome. So,
5 love languages.
Malcolm, thank you so much for jumping on. A lot of love for you, Johnny, from Malcolm. Crystal, also I want to touch on this before we jump off here. From experience, just even being the only one for entrepreneurship can be tough. But my spouse and I had to come back to basics to do this together, not separate. And why we're even doing it in this direction. So yeah, that's so important. Being able to, again, have that conversation and understand just where the other person's at. Because even though I know Johnny's business, I know what Johnny's schedule is somewhat like, I know what he does, I don't know the ins and outs and intricacies of what he's going through. I don't know what's frustrating him. I don't know what's happening in his heart. I don't know what God's doing inside of him until I choose to ask, until I choose to open up that dialogue and create space for somebody else.
Right.
Entrepreneurs need space to be created, to be able to just freely talk. And if you're one of those that need to give advice, what I like to say is, hey, are you looking for feedback, or are you looking for just a listening ear? But we need that space to talk, because sometimes the best ideas come out of something free-flowing, or really being able to understand somebody. You never know what you're going to pick out of there, what God wants you to hear.
Facts.
For you to really be able to move forward. And just like Malcolm in this, he's like, bro, I knew there was a reason I got on Facebook tonight. You're the reason. He really needed to hear you say what you said.
Right.
So hopefully all of this helps, makes sense, gives you some kind of understanding. Whether it's an entrepreneur in your family you just don't understand, you want to date one, you are dating one, you are one, and you're wondering why maybe you're having tough times connecting with other people, really take a step back and look at how grandiose this thing really is, how wonderful it is, and you just get to deal with the challenges. Everything, a 9 to 5, entrepreneurship, it all has its challenges. You just got to choose your hard, pick your way, and go for it. And don't let up and keep your foot on the gas, especially going into 2021. But that's all that I had for this, unless you had anything else, babe, but I think we pretty much hit it.
No, I think it's the one thing that I would chalk it up to is getting this book. I think this is a fundamental book that just about anybody and everyone should get. Christian and non-Christian, entrepreneurial, non-entrepreneurial. Anybody who craves to be in relationship. This book is incredibly paramount because I've even used it with clients because the way this book sums up is that there are 5 fundamental principles of the way that we receive love through words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, gift giving, and I think physical touch.
Isn't it time?
Time, quality time, absolutely.
That's my favorite one. How could he forget that?
And so
He's in trouble.
So right off the jump, me and Malls, we know what we want. Me, Latin. Especially the fact that I'm a guy, I like physical touch, right? I like to be touched. And so whenever I'm having a stressful day or whenever I'm, even like that. So whenever I'm going through a day or I got a mission of, a week or a month, whatever, she knows that the one thing that can really come for me is being held or being caressed.
Cuddles,
cuddling.
And just
yeah,
petting,
absolutely.
Just the love. It's true. It's true.
Seemed weird. But no, I love you.
Well,
and so, anyways, 5 love languages. If you don't know about it, please get to know about it because I promise you, this is definitely a fundamental book in your personal library. So,
key. Well, thank you guys for jumping on. Appreciate each and every one of you. If you're watching the replay after this live, definitely type in #replay. If you're an entrepreneur, let us know in the chat and just let us know the nuggets that you guys got from this, and we'll plug in the article that we got that we're referring to this whole talk. But hopefully this blessed you guys, to really be able to open your understanding and seeing where that's at. And one last thing that to be on the lookout for, Johnny and I actually got the opportunity to pair with a couple named Susan and Evan Money. They've been featured on a bunch of magazine articles, TV. This couple's been married 27 times to each other. But
not divorced and then remarried.
They get remarried to each other and they renew their vows every year somewhere different. Really, really cool. But long story short, we're coming together at the end of January to put on a 2-day marriage retreat here in California. It's going to be exclusive to 10 couples. Really being able to cover, from people who are seriously engaged, seriously dating, to newlyweds, all the way up to people who've been married for however long.
Yeah.
Really being able to pour into your marriage because right now Satan is attacking marriages 100%.
Absolutely.
So if you're interested in getting more information on that, #Marriage of Greatness. That's what this retreat's going to be called, Marriage of Greatness, a 2-day retreat here in California at the end of January. It's going to be amazing. And really being able to take the time to pour back into your marriage, listen to each other, be around other growth-minded entrepreneurs or couples that really want to see their marriage, thrive in 2021. Don't settle for anything less but thriving. So #Marriage of Greatness if you guys are interested in that. We're super excited. We know God has really called us to something like this to really be able to pour into couples our age or even older.
Absolutely.
To just bring in that love and bring in everything. We're really excited. So, all right, you guys, we will see you next Monday. We're really excited for the next one, but thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Love y'all.
Bye.